creamy.
Oh, yeah. That was still weird. Definitely have to Google that at some point in time. Because I really would like to know why it does it, because I've never seen a road do that before.
Sure. In comedy condos, I stayed in hotels. Everything I owned fit in my car. I had a bunch of stuff in storage, but pretty much everything just fit in my car, and I would unload my car and arrange the room in a certain order so it kind of looked like home all the time. And I would put the different pictures out and arrange everything in the bathroom exactly the same way, so it always felt like I was a little bit at home. Right. And I did that for 18 months. Then I came back to LA. But when I got back to LA, my act was so strong, I was unstoppable. That's when I got the Tonight Show and all that stuff after that.
So that period of that year and 6 months was kind of the crucible where you became a comedian.
Yeah. I'm telling you, I was like, nothing mattered but my act. Like, if I wasn't funny, then I was miserable. He couldn't talk to me, couldn't function. I didn't look anybody in the eye until I did the next show and I was funny. And then I was like, hey, I was like the most swaggy person in the world. It was like way up or way down, and just like everything depended on my whole self-worth depended on how I did on stage.
What were you telling yourself?
I got on stage.
What were you
plus I listen to those self-help tapes all the time, constantly during the day to buck myself up and keep myself on track.
Do you remember any moment during that 18 months where you thought, you know what, it's not worth it, I'm going to go live a normal life, this comedy thing?
No. I couldn't wait to get off the road and get back to LA. Like, after about a year and a couple months, I was like, I got to get back to LA because I'm not doing this forever. So I could see how somebody could get trapped like that, just keep on doing it. And I just wanted to have something I wanted to have a girlfriend. Like, I was going to strip clubs all the time just because that was the only time I could see a girl. Like, the idea of like hugging somebody and like cuddling or anything like that, I just couldn't do it because I was always on the road, a new place every week. So I would go to a strip club just to cuddle up with somebody and have a talk with a girl. It was crazy. You just felt lonely all the time and miserable.
Do you remember, as you're listening to this stuff, do you remember a moment when you actually began to do experiments, practicing some of the stuff that you were hearing on these audiobooks? Do you remember when, like, you started actually using it during this 18-month period and it started working?
I was so, man, it was such a journey because, like, there's this book called The University of Success by Og Mandino, and the first chapters are just about self-worth. Like, you deserve to be successful and you deserve to be happy, and, why can't you be happy? Why shouldn't you have money? Why shouldn't you be what you ever want to be? Why can't you have that degree? Like this basic stuff that I had to learn and convince myself, like, why shouldn't I headline? Why shouldn't I be funnier than the next guy? Why can't I be on the Tonight Show? Like, I had to convince myself that it was worth it, or that I was worth it. Like, you'll never accomplish anything if you don't think you're worth it, if you don't think you can. Like, why would you bother if you think you're a worthless person? You wouldn't even try. So, like, when people ask me, like, when I lost the weight, what was the first step? Like, what pill did you take? What diet did you go on? The very first step actually was a psychological step. I thought I did some math, and I was in really bad health, and I think, well, I'm not going to live long enough to see my kid graduate from high school. And I couldn't even play with them for 5 minutes because I would get too tired. And then to get out of that, I thought, well, I have to get out of that. And to get out of that, Nicole, Connor's mom, I remember this is a real key thing. One time she said, I just bought like the sloppiest clothes all the time. I would go to the Gap, and I wouldn't even go to the Gap. I would go online and buy like clothes for the summer, and then I would buy clothes for the winter. Twice a year, I'd get this big mail-in order from the Gap. Underwear, socks, everything, because I knew all the sizes. And I didn't care if I looked like a slob because I just wanted, these were my fat clothes. And I always had a plan to lose weight, but I never did because why bother? Because I was fat. I'm fat and horrible and ugly. Why would I bother? Not worth it. So Nicole said, we're going to take you shopping and get you some good clothes. So we went to like a store, got a personal shopper in Vegas, and they got me, they were big clothes, but they were like designer clothes. And I thought, I looked a little better, and I was really happy getting this stuff that wasn't from the Gap. And all of a sudden I thought, I deserve to look good. and I deserve to have nice things, and I can look good. And that gave me the trigger to think like, oh, why shouldn't I lose weight? I deserve it. Why shouldn't I try to make my body look better? I deserve it. And I really had to come up with this idea of even deserving to do that first before I even lost the weight. And the problem, the downward spiral when you're overweight or anything like that, is people make you feel like, or people don't, you make you feel, because you're looking at beautiful people in magazines or on the internet or whatever you're jacking off to, or ads in the magazine, that's how you have to look to be attractive to people, and that's how you have to look to be worthwhile. But you don't. You don't. And don't have to be a perfect body to be worthwhile and have love in your life. That's what I thought. So I was